Never settle. Not for comfort. Not for average. Not for a life that looks fine on the outside, but feels empty on the inside. Because the most dangerous prison in the world isn't made of bars. It's made of routine. It's made of excuses. It's made of the words, "This is just how life is." From the moment we're young, we're slowly trained to lower our expectations. We're told to be realistic, to be practical, to stop dreaming so big. At first, it sounds responsible. But over time, realism becomes limitation. Practicality becomes fear. And before you know it, you're living a life you never consciously chose. You just accepted it. Never settle. Never settle for a version of yourself that only exists to survive instead of truly live. There is a quiet voice inside you. It doesn't scream. It doesn't beg. It simply waits. It waits for the moments when you're alone, when the noise dies down, when you ask yourself, "Is this really it?" That voice isn't trying to make you unhappy. It's trying to wake you up. Because deep down, you know there's more in you. More strength, more discipline, more courage, more potential than what you're currently using. And settling happens slowly. It happens when you stay in places that drain you because leaving feels scary. It happens when you stay quiet, even though you have something important to say. It happens when you choose comfort today at the cost of regret tomorrow. Settling doesn't always feel painful in the moment. That's what makes it dangerous. It feels safe, predictable, familiar. But years later, it shows up as frustration, as bitterness, as the haunting question, "What if I had tried?" Never settle for good enough when you know you're capable of better. You were not put on this earth just to pay bills, scroll screens, and count down weekends. You were not meant to live for Fridays and dread Mondays. You were not designed to numb yourself just to get through the day. You were designed to grow, to build, to push, to evolve. And growth is uncomfortable. Growth will demand sacrifices. It will demand discipline when motivation disappears. It will demand that you let go of old versions of yourself, and sometimes old versions of people around you. But here's the truth. Outgrowing your old life is not betrayal. It's respect for your future. Never settle in your standards. The standards you set for yourself determine the life you live. Low standards create an easy life that feels hard. High standards create a hard life that feels meaningful. When you raise your standards, excuses stop working. You stop negotiating with your potential. You stop accepting half effort from yourself. You stop saying, "I'll try," and start saying, "I will." Never settle in your mindset. Your mind is either your greatest weapon or your strongest prison. If you constantly tell yourself you're behind, you'll move with hesitation. If you tell yourself you're capable, you'll move with intention. You don't become confident by waiting. You become confident by doing hard things repeatedly. Confidence is built through proof. Proof that you can show up tired, scared, and uncertain, and still move forward. Never settle in your discipline. Motivation comes and goes. Discipline stays. Discipline is choosing what you want most over what you want now. It's training yourself to act even when you don't feel like it. It's showing up when no one is watching, applauding, or encouraging you. Most people fail not because they lack talent, but because they settle for inconsistency. They work hard when they feel inspired, but disappear when it gets boring. Never settle for inconsistency. Small actions done daily will always defeat big actions done occasionally. Never settle in your self-respect. That means walking away from environments that shrink you. That means refusing to tolerate disrespect, especially from yourself. That means keeping promises you make in private. Every time you break a promise to yourself, you weaken trust with yourself. And self-trust is everything. When you trust yourself, you move boldly. When you don't, you hesitate. Never settle for fear-based decisions. Fear will tell you to wait. Fear will tell you to stay. Fear will tell you you're not ready. But fear has never built anything meaningful. Every meaningful life requires risk. Risk of failure, risk of judgment, risk of being misunderstood. And yes, you might fail, but failure is not the opposite of success. Regret is. Failure teaches. Regret haunts. Never settle for a life where you're constantly asking, what if? Ask instead, what's the cost if I don't try? Because time will pass regardless. The days will turn into weeks, the weeks into years, and one day, you'll look back. That moment will come whether you're ready or not. And when it does, you want to look back with pride, not at a perfect life, but at a brave one. A life where you took chances, where you showed up, where you refused to stay. Never settle for comfort when your soul is asking for more. Comfort dulls ambition. Comfort silences urgency. Comfort makes dreams feel optional. But your dreams are not random. They exist because you're capable of pursuing them. You don't have to move fast. You don't have to have everything figured out. You just have to keep moving. One step today. One decision that aligns with who you want to become. One moment of courage repeated daily. Never settle for being busy instead of being intentional. Busy doesn't mean productive. Busy doesn't mean fulfilled. Be intentional with your time, with your energy, with your focus. Protect them like your future depends on it, because it does. Never settle in how you speak to yourself. The voice you listen to most is your own. Make sure it's not the one holding you back. Talk to yourself like someone you're responsible for becoming. Encourage yourself, challenge yourself, forgive yourself, but don't lie to yourself. Never settle for excuses disguised as self-care. Rest when needed, but don't quit. Recover, but don't retreat. There's a difference between protecting your peace and avoiding your potential. And deep down, you know which one you're doing. Never settle. Not today, not tomorrow. Not when it gets hard. Not when no one notices your effort. Because the moment you stop settling is the moment your life begins to expand. Your future self is watching, listening, waiting. Make decisions today that your future will thank you for. Choose growth over comfort, courage over fear, purpose over convenience. Never settle, because you only get one life, and it deserves everything you've got.